Hello and welcome to episode 57
Oh my.
of the Stateside Soccer Show. This is Logan's 40th episode.
This is exciting. It's like an anniversary. What'd you get me?
My name is Jordan Wiegand, and with me today, as always, is somebody I'm rebranding back to Logan Stump because of the outrage that we received. So there he is. How are you today, Logan?
Hey, at least you're appeasing the fans. I'm doing all right. We've got T-minus less than 2 weeks of actual school left, so getting into the summer months and a lot of soccer coming up. So pretty excited about that. I know I was going to ask you how you're doing, but I kind of know how you're doing. How are you doing, Jordan? You
Good. You know, if you didn't ask, I was going to be like, oh, I guess nobody cares how I feel.
Nobody cares about how you do.
No, I got my second shot the other day, and Thursday I was out of commission. Today I'm still a little headache, but it was mainly just a headache and fatigue.
Mm.
And I would say by I was fine most of Wednesday when I got it.
Mm-hmm.
I just got kind of loopy and sore, but I was with it. I was just kind of in and out of those games that we were talking about. But I stayed up for the whole San Jose-Seattle game. I felt great. I went to bed, and then I woke up at 4 a.m. to go to the bathroom, and I had a massive headache, and I felt like I could barely walk into the bathroom, and then I had trouble going back to sleep. It was no matter which way I tried to lay down, I couldn't get comfortable, so I was just tossing and turning.
Mm.
So by 6 o'clock, I was texting my manager, I'm not coming in. And it's pretty much how I felt until 3 or 4-ish. And I still had the headache, but I was not as fatigued once we got later in the day. And I felt good. I read a book. I read 300 pages out of 380. Lord. So I'd already read the first 80.
Mm-hmm.
Read 300 all yesterday. Got it done. They mentioned the Sounders. So that's a nice little segue here. But let me tell you a story. I get out of my shot and I'm driving home and I'm like, I just have this feeling. I got to go to Ross, right? I got to go to Ross. So I go to Ross right before I hit up McDonald's, right? They're right next to each other. And I go into Ross and I see blue and orange. And I'm like, oh my God, what is this? Is that Cincinnati? Go over there. 3XL Cincinnati kit. I'm like, okay, that's not going to fit.
Yeah.
And I look down and they got this sweet extra large Cincinnati kit that I am wearing right now. So, yeah, it was nice.
I was going to say it wasn't on the clearance sale or
no, $20.
If you could score on them, you can get it for free or anything like that.
No,
okay.
Not with no. Unfortunately, it was full price for Ross, $20. Yeah. I tried to haggle with them a bit. I was like, they're not even that good this year. $5 maybe. And
I think Ross might have better defense than Cincinnati. But moving on.
Yeah. So we are going to be talking about those midweek games that we saw. Wednesday had a whole bunch, a handful, I guess, and Thursday had just the one.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, was difficult for me to watch just because of the stupid blackout rules. But yeah, so we got some games to talk about. I would say that most of them were unsurprising. Would you say?
Yeah, all but one, I think, surprised me. But yeah, we'll get into that. I think it was kind of one of those weird midweek lulls where it's just, I don't know, the teams didn't seem as sharp, but
yeah, definitely. Oh, my dogs are going a little crazy. Hold on. My wife just got home, so they're happy. So let's talk some of these games, talk some headlines here. Do you want to give it a go?
Yeah, I'll go.
We got one headline each, right? And then we're doing, just because there were not as many games, we're not doing 3 each like we usually do. So we're doing one headline each, and then we will talk the rest of the games, and then we will look forward to, where we'll pick 2 games each that we are looking forward to.
Yeah, so this will fit in nicely here, since it's my only one and only headline.
Dynamo more like dynamite.
And Tim Parker sitting behind me. It's kind of weird. Did I turn the right way? No, I never turned the right way.
No.
So he's behind me. But yeah, no, I wanted to talk about the Dynamo, because they are dynamite. I think that, and we started out the season, Jordan and I did live streaming the Dynamite. I'm going to keep doing that. Dynamo versus San Jose. And, we were really impressed with both teams, I think. I think we were looking at both teams thinking they took a step forward. And when we talk about San Jose, we'll get into that too. But I don't know. The Dynamo really have impressed me. The way Tim Parker's kind of come in and solidified that back line. Houston really had a hard time in leak goals at times last year that really gave them some trouble in not performing well last season. And if you look back at our predictions, you and I had them really low, I think right below
12th.
I was going to say 12th. I expected them to finish above Vancouver, who were competing for that wooden spoon spot and grabbing that. But I think that, we watched the Dynamo play and just the attacking play that they've had. I mean, Fafa Pico has come in and done really well. He's, he does a really nice job of, when he turns the ball over, he gets ball back. He's great with pressuring the midfielders that it would be for the other team. When the ball goes back towards the other end, he's able to dislodge balls often and get attack play going back towards their end. And so he's really impressed me. Memo Rodriguez has been fantastic. Max Urruti has come in and performed extremely well. I thought that he looked good. Again, he gets a goal that gave them the win over SKC, which is a big win. But again, everything about them, just they've played well. Tab Ramos finally seems to have his players in place. I think this is going into year 2 and having, his personnel there to perform well. I think that he is passionate. I don't know if you saw it, Jordan, but 89th minute, he goes sprinting down like the line towards the line judge and is like furious because it was close to, it should have been a foul at least and a yellow maybe, then and nothing was really called. The ball went out of bounds and it went the other way, and he was livid and chased down that line judge and was given the red card. So we'll see how long that he's out. And he didn't have very nice words to say. But this team just seems to be really good behind a leadership like Tim Parker, who has come in and really solidified the defense. And he's looked good in the attack, which is shocking because he's usually that center back spot. And he actually had a couple passes that he put forward that just really, I guess, made them even more threatening from a center back position, and having a good center back like him. It's a big offseason signing that they've had. So really impressed with Houston, really impressed with what they've got going so far. And they look tough to beat. I'll give them that. They score goals and they defend well.
Yeah, and to beat Kansas City is not bad. Not a bad result there. It's something that many people probably did not see coming. Derek Jones, former Philadelphia Union player, had a good performance there for Houston. Fafa Pico, like you mentioned, former Union player, having a good, maybe not a best night, but just a good season start.
Mm-hmm.
That they're definitely, we showed that we both put them 12th. If I'm looking at real standings right now, they are 4th in the West, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you know what we had right? We had this part right. They are above Vancouver. Vancouver's in 5th right now in the West. So we have that part right. We have so far the placement right, but the wrong place. So that's a little surprising. But I guess, you know what? We didn't really – was the Parker trade already made when we previewed them or no?
Yeah. It was within that week because I was trying
to give us a reason why we did not put them so high.
I don't know. I can't come up with any excuse right now.
We'll think on it.
I think I made that graphic wrong, Jordan. I think
we did put them 4th.
I think I switched them. Yeah. That's my fault, man. That's my first year that I've done predictions in, Houston and
you know what though?
Seattle. They look alike.
Next year you'll rank them highly, and they'll be like 12th. So it just is what it is.
They'll move to the East.
Yeah, well, that's sometimes MLS does that. So, guess we'll see. Yeah. So let's talk my highlight here. I have Montreal making an impact, and I wish they'd actually changed their name back to Impact. But we have Montreal, who won 2-0 at Inter Miami after a 4-hour game after it got delayed due to lightning and storms. But paused at 8:43 Eastern and restarted at 11:05. Just the reason why I want to kind of highlight them is because I knew people were giving Miami a lot of crap for how they probably looked. But this was a road win for Montreal.
A home road
win. Home road win. Right? That's where they're playing right now. But they go out there. They have this huge delay where they're already winning 2-0. They see out the result. Miami has had some good results this year, so I'm not going to say like this is just them beating up on a bad team when we thought they were going to be a bad team too. And look, they've surprised us. If I show the graphic of where we put them, we had them both last, 14th place in the East with wooden spoon for the audio listeners. And if we look now at the standings as they currently sit, where I'm looking, they're first place in the East. So, I don't see them staying in first place, but I'm starting to think maybe they have a shot at just making a playoff spot now or being right below that playoff spot. I'm not thinking wooden spoon as much for Montreal. That's a good turnaround for them right now. And look, they've been able to get the job done. Miami, I guess we can kind of talk about them a bit, right? Shawcross didn't have a good game. Didn't really have any threats in the first half. Then you have the weather delay. Then, Miami did have some sort of energy after the delay, but not enough to get anything done. And they only had one shot on target, which is the second time in Inter Miami's short history, a year and 4 game history here of only one shot on target. They're being linked to David Luiz, right? They're being linked to, I don't know how many DPs they're going to think they can fit on a roster here, but they can't have 11. So good. Kind of worried about, I know, would David Luiz come over as a DP, you think? I feel like he'd have to with his money. I don't know if you're going to be able to buy him down.
I was going to say, somebody said that they might be able to buy him down to TAM, and I'm thinking there's a lot of other leagues, I think, out there that would buy him up in a heartbeat, more so than what Miami.
People make fun of David Luiz, but he would instantly be a really good defender in this league. Yeah. And also what he brings other than the defense, the attack and free kicks and stuff like I'm not sure if he really fixes this team.
Yeah, I don't know. When you look at it too, Federico Higuain has been probably their best creator, and he's been coming off the bench unless there's been issues with health. Pellegrini, Pellegrini, they had to sell. I think he's back now to South America.
He's on loan back to South America.
Yeah,
with the South American team not paying any of the loan.
Right. So you have that headache, and they're still dealing with the fallout from that. They are also dealing with the fact that Gonzalo Higuain is just, unlike Chicharito, he's just not it. When you look at him play, he's had chances, and I think he was the one shot on goal, if I can remember correctly. And he just hasn't looked great. Robbie Robinson still dealing with being, injury prone. Mm-hmm. It seems like every year that he's hurt, and it's unfortunate because I think that he's been their best player. But then if you look at Pizarro, they thought that he could do something well with Gonzalo, and Gonzalo hasn't played well. And again, they're coming off their mother's death. So, that impacts, and it'll have an impact for a couple of weeks here, I think. But like you said, Jordan, their issues were easily attack, and then all of a sudden it becomes defense again, because when you look at their defense, when you've got Ryan Shawcross as somebody that you think is fixed and solidified a back line when he's barely played in the last 3 years, what's really the issue here is the fact that they just don't bring in good personnel. It seems like they want the shiny pieces, and David Luiz has been horrible for Arsenal. So as of late, so you really wonder, is it because it's the shiny names and Beckham says, hey, shiny name from England, let's go with him. That could really run you into the ground quickly, because you would think they would have a much better touch with some of these South American players and some of these Hispanic players because of how influential the Hispanic community is in that city.
Definitely. Yeah, that's something that you think they'd be taking advantage of, but instead they're bringing all the old Euro stars over. Let's talk about another Canadian team here. Got Toronto winning old school style against Columbus Crew with Michael Bradley and Josie Altidore scoring goals in the 13th and 87th minute as they turn back the clock here in Columbus. So pretty interesting. It was at Toronto. So it was in Orlando. Sorry.
Yeah, it was at Orlando.
Yeah, no fans. So Teldo gets his start. Akinola started. Michael Bradley had a few chances early, and he actually gets 2 shots here that leads to this goal, which just wasn't good defense by the Crew. They couldn't get the ball out of their box. And then for the second goal, Josie with a nice header late in the game. Omar Gonzalez with the first header to find Josie. Bradley playing well at that during that game at least, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of like a old school Toronto vibe there. Makes me wonder a bit. They're very streaky almost.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to say this. They're very Quakes. You don't know if they're going to be good this week or if they're going to be bad this week. That's kind of what I'm feeling from Toronto. They can go out there and lose to Montreal first week, and then they can come back and win against Crew, and then they could lose against another team, and I'm not really sure what to make of them. And when we look at Crew, I know we had Ori on Tuesday, and he was mentioning how they were undefeated. Great start. I don't think this is a great start anymore for the Crew. I get that they have some injuries and have some issues. But when we're looking at it right now, and I look at the standings, they are 9th place. I was looking for their old logo on here, but it shows their no logo. 9th place, 5 points out of 4 games. Sorry. So a little bit more than 1 point a game right now. But below the playoff line when they're supposed to run away with the East after they added great players to their squad, after they won MLS Cup. It just seems like they're kind of having this, I don't want to say championship hangover or anything, but it's kind of like this little lull that they're kind of starting the season out with. And they had some games, they had some injuries. Like I said, they had some Champions League games where they had injuries and midweek matches that they're then bringing to start the season. That's always rough, and we're seeing that with a lot of the Champions League teams. But ultimately for me, if I'm a Crew fan, I'd be a little worried. Look, they're going to probably make the playoffs. Not a super big deal, I don't think. But, because it's a long season. But it's 4 games played so far for them with a win against DC.
Mm-hmm.
And that's their only win.
3 goals. Didn't score in the other 3 matches. Team that we raved about their depth, but like I asked Ori, and I was, he said that Crew wasn't concerned with their depth. He said that with the midfield injuries, there's a lot of pieces missing. So then I'm thinking, you got to be concerned about your depth because you have nobody sitting in that midfield. Artur's been hurt. Aiden Morris is out for the year. Celereon had to miss a match because of in Champions League. He had to miss that second leg of that match, and completely they're not the same team without him. Kevin Molino should be coming back soon if all things go well with Kevin Molino, and you're banking on the fact that Kevin Molino shows up from Minnesota and has a good year. So when I'm looking at this team, I think they're bottom of the league in scoring, 26th or 25th, 0.25 goals a game. Defense has been like, people have been missing, people have been hurt, can't get people healthy. So like you said, Jordan, this isn't the Crew team that people thought was going to run away with the East, and I'm not sure that they can at this rate. And you're looking at a really tough stretch if they go into this June break of games where they don't play well, and they do have a tough schedule coming up. You're going to see a Crew team, I think, start to feel some of that pressure because of how good people expected them to be.
And they have a lot of off-field stuff too going on with the logo and stuff that, journalists have asked them questions and they're kind of like, we're not concerned about it. But I feel like when people just keep asking about it, it probably is affecting it somehow, right? Like it may not be like affecting them where like, I hate this logo too, but like where they're like, look, we're a good team and this is all they can focus on type of thing. And maybe that plays a role. I don't know. I've never been in locker rooms like that, so I don't know if it does, but when you just keep hearing about the same thing and all that, I feel like it would kind of get old. And, they're supposed to be challenging for the Eastern top spot, supporter shield even. People are raving about this team, and we have them, I think we have them both number one in the East here. We didn't, thankfully, assign point totals, but well, and they can get there, obviously. It's a beginning of the season, but, they're only 3 points back of top of the East, so it's not like we're burying them yet.
Right.
But to lose against this Toronto team, which is not a good Toronto team, and they're kind of near the bottom of the East right now, it's just a little worrying. And, maybe Columbus will hit the summer and they'll start, when they get to their new stadium, they'll start churning out wins. Maybe, we'll see. But it doesn't guarantee anything because it's not like Austin where they're playing on the road the whole time. Like Crew have been playing at historic Crew Stadium and will have the same number of home games as they should. It's not like they're playing the back half of the schedule at home where it's going to be an advantage for them. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm a little worried for the Crew. A little worried. But good job, Toronto. And to see Josie on the field scoring, that's what you need because he's not on the field much at all. So to be able to see him score a goal and hope that he's going to be producing at least some sort of number, because last year he didn't produce a lot. So to see him producing is good.
And they were missing Pozuelo and Osario, so that's a team that was dealing with injuries of their own, and they still I thought they dominated the game. Crew just didn't look at all like they were ever going to score.
Okay, so we have New England Revolution at the Philadelphia Union for the 900th time in the last year. And 6 minutes in, we have what I think would be a valid... Oh, I'm very blurry.
Hello, very blurry. How are you?
Very... I think it could have been a penalty here.
Definitely was. There's no way that this was not a penalty. When you look at the replay, it was like, really? I mean, he only makes contact with Casper in the box. So, what? I didn't get it. And he even looked at it too. So I was confused.
Yeah, and I know there were some Union fans that looked and thought, oh, this is actually a good no call. But I'm not seeing anything there that makes me think that this was a good no call. He might get a touch on the ball, but again, that's not all it is, right? Like that's not the only thing that you judge it by. Did he get the ball? You have to judge it by numerous things, which include, how late is the challenge? Does he get the player as well? Like there's a whole combination of things that I think. I'm not trying to sound biased as a Union fan here, but I think if I looked at any team getting tackled like that, I'd probably say that's a penalty.
Yeah. Oh, even the announcers were saying that. I mean, Danny Higginbottom's like, there is no, it's a clear-cut path. He's got an advantage on goal, and the guy just takes him down from kind of behind him, angled it away, and makes no contact with the ball first at all, and then takes down Casper for what probably would have been an easy goal for Szabelko.
Right, and then there was some more controversy at the end of the match, which we'll get to, but there is a goal in the 85th minute. Teal Bunbury scores, gives them a lead. Just kind of some sloppy play there. The 88th minute, Turner comes out, gets hit in the face, going up against Szabelko. Right? Szabelko's the one that ran into him, right?
Yep.
And then Szabelko's also the one that finishes the ball into the back of the net. Saw a lot of Revs fans up in arms, and Matt Turner even here today during their press conference said there's no maybe. The intent of the action was very clear. I don't think he intentionally meant to do this, and I think that if you didn't call the penalty early on, I don't have a problem with not calling this. They equal out at this point because the Union would have had a goal with letting this stand or potentially scoring a goal with the penalty. So I think these are the things in soccer that even out most of the time.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with it. I don't think there was any intention. I do think sometimes goalkeepers are protected too much. I know I said that with the Guzan. I'm not sure if I said it on this show, but I texted you that over the weekend during the Atlanta-Miami game because I thought it should have been a penalty to Miami because Guzan, I feel like, yes, he started making the save, but then he lost the ball and then he still took out the player. And to me, the goalkeeper doesn't have an inherent right to the ball. Every player has a right to the ball. And if you touch the ball, yes, and then you try to touch it again and you get somebody, that's a penalty. And in this case, both of these players are going for the ball. And I don't think just because a goalkeeper is touched or hit at times that it's a guaranteed free kick. But I've only seen Revolution people really upset about this. I haven't seen too many neutrals upset that this goal stood. What was your thoughts on it?
It's a soccer play that unfortunately, I mean, Szabelko's a big striker, so I mean that arm's going to be in that way anyway. And the way that Turner jumps in, like Turner can see him. Turner sees the ball. He can see the people coming for the ball. Whereas Szabelko, as a striker, as an attacking player, you're looking for the ball. You're not really necessarily looking for a goalkeeper. And Szabelko's big, so when he jumped, so did Turner. And Turner's, I think Szabelko's probably taller than Turner. And they got up, and it was a good, clean play. I mean, it happens. You collide with people, and like you said, Jordan, I think sometimes they get a little too picky, like almost as if the goalkeeper is the only one that can. You can't hit him like the quarterback. He's not a quarterback. He actually has the advantage of getting out of the way of players and with the ball because he can catch it. They're the guys that are trying to get out of the way with the ball at their feet. They can't get out of the way because they can't get their arms up in enough time to try to, you know what I mean? So, again, I think they try to protect here, and I thought this was a good no call. I thought it was a good, and honestly, to be quite fair, like you said, it evens out that what should have been a penalty for Szabelko, and then you're talking about a Union 3 points instead of a Union 1 point barely at the end because just luck of the draw. Szabelko was able to punch that one in and get a point at home.
Yeah, I was just watching it while you were talking there. I don't see much intent, to be honest, there on it. Szabelko's not usually a dirty player. But I will say, once I saw Turner on the ground, I was thinking this is getting called back because of how often they usually do protect goalkeepers in these instances that I was like, all right, I didn't celebrate. I was like, I'm waiting for this to be overturned because that's just usually how it is.
Now, I will say, with Union's dirty history here in 2021, maybe they should have called it, and maybe it was on purpose.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on with them this year, to be honest. And that's the kind of thing. That's the kind of thing that we're like in a sense like this, where I do think this is unintentional. and not really a foul because both are going up for it, and
Mhm.
he wins the header, right? I think if you keep having this history of where you are doing these things, then a ref could call it thinking that it is intentional. So I think that's one thing you got to be worried for if you're a Union fan, is trying to, like some of Union fans are like, oh, I love that we're fighting and stuff like this. But if it becomes a thing that people are known for, then every play that is exactly like this is going to get called against you, because you have this, like, what am I trying to say here? You have like this
You have this reputation.
Reputation. Yeah. Exactly. Thank you. Sorry.
No, you're fine. And one thing I will say, just overall in general, speaking of the two teams, I thought that this was, even though it's a midweek game, and I think that's why it was not as like fun to watch, I guess, is because these two teams, I think, are top teams in the East, and now you go and add Daniel Gazdag to a Union team at the bottom of a diamond where a number 10 like Anthony Fontana can't get the job done, so they're going to use Miro, I imagine, with Bedoya on the sides, with Flock in the back, and that diamond, man, it's like I wouldn't want to go through that diamond. That's a scary diamond, and Kai Wagner has played really well. Bozio is probably one of those sneaky signings of the year, just of how good he's been, and Klesnes and Elliott have been phenomenal. Now you add in Gazdag, you move McGlenn, I guess, to the bench, and you have Gazdag running that number 10 with Sergio Santos and Presbilko. Then you add in guys like, is it DeVries? Is that how you say it? DeVries. And then Fontana, they were talking about either you trade him for more money, or what you could do is have him kind of fill in those spots where needed. And they said that, looking at a double striker, sometimes he can be more effective as a second striker to kind of set up Shabelko or Santos, depending on what day they use him.
I do just want to correct you on something. Bozio's been here since 2018, so not really signing of the year. But
I thought he was new. I guess I don't know why.
He just took over for Ray Gaddis.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I thought.
But yeah, so he probably would not be playing if Ray Gaddis was still here, just because of the back, like kind of getting blocked at that position. One thing I will say with the Union, I'm not as high on them as you are at this point. They're 10th. Yeah, it's still just 3 points out of first. That's how it bunched up the East is. But that is now their third game at home to start the season with no wins at home. They beat Chicago on the road. They drew with Columbus on the road. And then they've had 2 losses at home and a draw at home. So they got to start picking up some 3 points at home if they want to be near the top of the East. So I am a little worried about that, and I think Union fans should be as well. They're averaging 1 point per game right now, which is below Columbus, below Atlanta, and right in line with Miami and Toronto at this point. So, look, this is what I think when we were looking at previewing the season and stuff, when we're saying, hey, we can't put everybody in the top 4 or everybody in the top 7, is because I think the East is going to be like this throughout the whole season. I think it's going to be very bunched up except for maybe the bottom 2 teams. Cincy and Chicago. If Cincy can't get their stuff together, I think that Cincy and Chicago will be near the bottom, and all the other clubs are going to be in line for possibly getting into the playoffs almost through the last month of the season. And especially they're going to be beating up on each other the whole time, because we only have 2 West games for each team or so. So that's going to be, it's going to make the East very exciting this year, I think, to actually watch. It may not be better than the West, but it's going to be, I think, more bunched up than the West, and it's going to be pretty crazy. But we'll see. Maybe both conferences are just going to be bunched up like crazy. I want to talk Vancouver at Minnesota United. I made a joke on here that Vancouver was going to win. So there you go. You're welcome, Minnesota fans. You got your first win due to my bad joke. And Bila scored 72 minutes in for his first goal as a Minnesota United player. But Vancouver, who were on a roll for a bit there, but just can't really open play wise. They have some problems. But I'd say maybe the biggest storyline is not really the win, but maybe the clean sheet of Minnesota. Because I don't know if the clean sheet is due to Minnesota playing better defense this game or Vancouver's problems. What do you think?
So watching the game, there was a moment, and I want to say it was, I guess, like 20 minutes to 35, 40 minutes, that Vancouver was just absolutely having their way with Minnesota's defense. Like, Minnesota can't get close and pressure anything. And, against a team that doesn't really have a creative 10, I think really helped them, because there were times where the ball would retreat backwards when they would get into threatening positions in the Minnesota defense, because they didn't have anybody to kind of break that back line with any passes. So I think that that's where, if I'm a Minnesota fan, like, yes, I'm thrilled I got 3 points, but I would still be really close to hitting that panic button, because seriously, there was a good time where it felt like Vancouver had the ball 100% of the time and was just running through the defense and getting pretty much anything they wanted at will. They just couldn't get anybody on the end of the play to kind of finish. And I thought Cavallini probably played his worst game that match than he had all season, because I think that his threatening runs in different games that he's played this year, I thought that if they had done that, then this team would have, I think, beat Minnesota, because Minnesota only owns that, really good play, and Abila gets that goal. Other than that, I thought that Vancouver, for the most part, and that's hard to say because I don't think Vancouver is a very good team. Watching them, they made Minnesota look pretty equal to them, which is not good if you're Minnesota fans. I'm still very concerned with Minnesota's defense, even though it's a clean sheet.
I would agree. Minnesota's still bottom of the West. They have 3 points now, so they're actually even with Portland, but Portland has that game in hand. So don't really know how it's going to shake up. But look, you're in good company down there right now, Minnesota. You got Portland and LAFC with you.
That's shocking.
But LAFC and Portland have huge injury issues, while Minnesota does not really. So Portland might be writing off the season. LAFC will be getting Vela back at some point, and then going on hopefully a good run where they can start challenging a bit more. So let's look at Sounders at San Jose. Christian Roldan scored a cracker of a goal 18 minutes in, because you all know that MLS After Dark is always just bangers. Banging goals every time. Seattle undefeated against San Jose since 2015. That's 14 matches with 8 wins and 6 draws. And it's the longest active unbeaten run by any MLS team against another. We got a bad knee injury for Jordy Delem in the 3rd minute. We also get a handball call that's reviewed by VAR, and Yamar did not have his hand in a unnatural position, so it's overturned. Then we get the Christian Roldan goal. Then you get Cade Cowell, who had a great shot in the 37th minute. And we get the Stephen Fry injury late in the half, like 91st minute. So much so that Alex Roldan, actually, because they were out of subs, had to come on, put on the gloves, put on the kit, and look very natural, sarcastically. He fit right in with Slagle, actually, because, Slagle, if you look at him trying to make one of those penalty saves at first, he's kind of like, what do I do? And he looks awkward. Alex Roldan was a little awkward, but he did make a save when he had to, which keeps the 1-0 lead. And it's disappointing for the Quakes, right? But I think that 1-0 Sounders, I think maybe a 1-1 draw would have been fair for this. I think Quakes put on a good display. I think Sounders put on a good display. And I'm surprised I was able to stay up for it all because it was so late here on the East. But I enjoyed this match, and look, I've talked about my affinity for Sounders before. So to see them after this injury to Jordan Morris be first place with 13 points after 5 matches, it's pretty impressive. Undefeated still. Along with Orlando. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
No, and Nashville, sorry. But Crew lost that. And there's now only 3. So Crew lost their lost their undefeated status. But yeah, just look, Wando didn't have a lot of chances. It was they couldn't really get the ball to him. And when Cade Cowell came out, I think that they lost something, because I thought Cowell had put some good chances towards Christian Espinoza, who would shank them or not really be able to finish them. And some of these were really great balls from Cade Cowell that I was like, this kid, he's only 17. It's gonna be great. And I've seen the sentiment on U.S. men's national team Twitter that he's just like a specimen. That he's just fast and strong. That he's not as good with the ball, but some of these passes he makes, man, I don't see how anybody could say that about him. Because some of these passes were just really good that I think he could have had 2 or 3 assists, in all honesty, on that game. But it is what it is, and Seattle goes home with 3 points, and they're still top of the league as Supporter Shield contenders. And we have to start asking, Logan, are they the favorites for Supporter Shield, even with the Stephen Fry injury?
Yeah, because there was some updates about Stephen Fry. It does sound like it's not, which is great news. It doesn't sound like it's going to be season ending. I think it's kind of more along the lines of like the Pato injury, where it's cleaning up that knee or whatever happened. I think it was minor things, because he tweeted out something like, good news, good updates, while not positive, much better than tearing something important. So I think it was much more of like that back of that knee or something in the knee that needs just now cleaned up, which could usually mean just months. And especially with some of these prolonged breaks that we're getting ready to have in the summer, could really help him. He's a little older, so that's where some concern can come in. But yeah, I think when you look at it, they've been so good, and it's been without Nico Ladero. Like we said with our power rankings last week, I think that this week, with just the way that they've been playing, I love the name that they come up with. I'm sure it's not original, but it's Broldons with the brothers. It's Christian's been, and we'll get into just how good he's been because he gets named to the roster. But Christian's played really well. Alex has played really well. I think Atencio's been really great. Raul Rui Diaz is top class. So I think that this team, while yes, they're going to miss Stephen Fry, that's much easier of a Band-Aid to fix rather than having like a Sebastian Blanco who's out for Portland and doesn't really seem like he's on the mend very well. That's a lot different, I think. And then Attinella is dropping back from him. I think that the kid that they have behind him is just not ready yet. So, if Stephen Fry does end up missing some time, maybe they can get somebody on loan or something like that with the window coming up. But I think that right now, yes, I would say that Sounders are favorites, but I'm really, really happy with the way that San Jose is playing because it's just a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it's just really good from the Sounders, and the fact that San Jose is doing so well this year. We'll see if that is something that they're going to be able to stick with. That's the question, right? Because sometimes it's an early start for them. We don't know. We had these questions, right? We always had these questions earlier this season, right? Where before the season started, are they going to be good enough, right? Like, are they going to be able to see out games that they need to see out? And they've had a weaker schedule. And I'll tell you the reputation for Quakes. I guess Joy doesn't pay attention to this all that much, but she was like watching it while I was watching it, and she said, aren't the Quakes bad? And I was like, they're actually like the second best team in the league right now. But I said, but they also had a weaker schedule, but they play these exciting games where you never know if it's going to be 4-1 or 1-0 or 3-3. You just never know with how it is. And I just thought it's funny that she knew of that kind of reputation that they've had.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I don't think I really talk that much Quakes in the household, but it is what it is. That is almost all the games. That's all the games for Wednesday. Then on Thursday was Chicago at DC. 7 minutes in, Edison Flores scores for DC United. Paul Arriola made his return after his injury. And the Fire started getting a little bit more comfortable in the match and almost equalized here with Fabian Herbers off the crossbar on a header in the 91st minute. What do you think is more surprising out of this game? That DC United beat Chicago, or Chicago almost equalized, or because this isn't a good Chicago team that we know of. DC surprisingly 6 points. They're in fifth place in the East right now after 5 games played. But we don't anticipate them staying there. But they have Orlando coming up next this weekend. Just what were your thoughts on this game?
I'm just shocked that Calvo can remain a defender, and I know he's a DP, so it's like you got to justify it with playing time. But he gets beat all the time. I mean, all the time. It's not like he goes out there and he has a couple good tackles, that kind of thing. He is constantly getting beat, set pieces, or attacking players going in and through him. Balls not being cut off. He's actually had chances to where he's tried to pass out of the back again, and that's not gone well for him. Playing out of the back should not just be like, that's not a Chicago style that they need. It's not like the pizza. It needs to stop, because they are so disastrous in the back that is just not working. I don't know what Raphael Wiki can do. I don't know if he can change formation, because seems to be unwilling to change it from that back three. They just seem so exposed back there, because all their midfielders, to be honest, are more attack-minded, so there's not really much in the way to help Calvo. So, that's part of the issue. And I'm just surprised that it keeps going like this. How much longer can it go? Because I think you're looking realistically at a team that could very well be the Wooden Spoon team, because I think at least Cincinnati can kind of come up out of this malaise with their attack, whereas I'm not sure Chicago can, because Chicago hasn't looked it. They just don't look threatening in attack. Stojanovic is their best player. He hasn't, if he has to miss games, then he's, that's not going to be good for them. Baric can't get anything because nobody creates for him on the wings, which they thought was a big issue coming in. They needed to shore up some of those wing spots and get some more depth there. But yeah, I'm just really, really not impressed with what Chicago can do. And meanwhile, Hernan Losada looks like he's bringing an exciting form of soccer to DC, which is really exciting, because I think that as time goes on and he can add more pieces that are his own, I think that eventually in a couple of years, DC could have some good positive results as far as finishing the table, getting to the playoffs, and pushing for that playoff spot.
Losada had some great quotes after the fact here as well, where he was talking about how they play Orlando this weekend, and he was checking to see who Orlando played midweek, and he was like F, Orlando didn't play anybody this week, so he'll be really rested. And he just seems like
I
a
like
lot
him.
of fun. Yeah, he seems like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I listened to a press conference with him when he came over, and he speaks really well in English, so he was able to give because I don't forget exactly where he's from. I don't want to guess, but yeah, he's in that same mold, I think, with Heinze, where he's very at least honest, and he's actually more humorous than Heinze. I think Heinze can kind of be arrogant sometimes, but I really like what Losada does.
Yeah, so that's the games that happened this week. I will say though, I will be having some Chicago-style pizza when I go down to Florida, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. he got me hungry for it.
Mm.
And tonight's pizza night too, but I can't get any Chicago style here.
That sucks.
Yeah, they don't have it here.
That's weird.
In Maryland, they don't. I guess we have Maryland pizza. I don't know.
Mm.
So let's take a look ahead of what's coming up. Tomorrow, Saturday, the 15th, we start off at 1 o'clock with NYCFC versus Toronto. We'll see if Toronto has another one of these up and down games where, they play well, then they don't. Because NYCFC's been on a roll this season. So this will be a big test for Toronto. And it's at Yankee Stadium. So we'll see how many home runs Toronto gets. Then on the 15th as well at 3:30 on that one. Oh, sorry. The New York City FC in Toronto is on MLS Live on ESPN+. LA Galaxy versus Austin's on Univision, TUDN, and Twitter. That's at 3:30. That's at LA Galaxy, Dignity Health Sports Park, because Austin's still waiting for their stadium next month. 7 o'clock. So we have a gap there. 7 o'clock, Atlanta versus Montreal on ESPN+. Then at 7:30, the Philadelphia Union versus their rivals, the New York Red Bulls, on ESPN+. That's at Subaru Park. So it's another home game opportunity for the Union to turn it around. But New York Red Bulls have been playing some inspiring football, especially some of their youngsters here. Then we have Minnesota United at 8 o'clock versus FC Dallas. The hits just keep coming from Minnesota. Dallas is not an easy team. Minnesota, this is at Minnesota, so we'll see if they're able to get it going again here. Colorado at 9 o'clock versus Houston. That's on ESPN+. Real Salt Lake and Nashville at 9:30 on ESPN+. And at 10 o'clock, San Jose versus Portland. So San Jose has the gauntlet of the Cascadia teams there. That's on ESPN+ as well. Then Sunday, May 16th, Kansas City versus Vancouver at 2 o'clock on ESPN+. Then on Big Fox, it is the FC Cincinnati versus Miami at 4 o'clock. So right when I play my softball games.
They're going to be opening that new stadium.
Yeah. I'll have to watch this one on recording, I guess. New England Revolution versus Columbus Crew at 6 o'clock on ESPN2. Then at 8 o'clock, it is DC United versus Orlando on ESPN+. That's at 8 o'clock. I could go to that game. I can't, though, but I could go see Orlando.
Go, because I won't be able to see it.
On FS1 at 9:30, it is Seattle versus LAFC. So we're each going to highlight two games here that we think you should look out for and spend your time watching, and I'm going to give it to you first, Logan.
All right, so first game that I'm highlighting, and I guess we'll do this in order just because it's easier that way. First game, Saturday night. It's going to be the Philadelphia Union playing at Subaru Park against the Red Bulls. You kind of alluded to it earlier. Caden Clark has played extremely well. Frankie Amaya seems to have a great role in Jared Struber's system there at Red Bulls. They are playing inspired football. Andrew Gutman looks great. Aaron Long back, I think. I think he was suspended or hurt or something. Hurt. No, I don't know. I'm making that up. He doesn't play for them. No, I'm kidding. So it's a game that I'm looking forward to because you're right, Jordan. Philadelphia needs to stop dropping points at home, especially 3 points, because they are a team that should be very difficult to beat at Subaru Park.
And they were all last year,
right,
except for the playoff game.
Yeah. Right. I guess they got to play the Revs there a couple more times to get back into the flow of things. But maybe this fixes them. It does sound like they won't get their new addition until June. I think Gazdag is scheduled to come over and get all his visa stuff and the works. Just won Hungarian Player of the Year. But before that, I think I need to see Union really, I guess, control the ball in more threatening areas. I need to see because their defense is going to be as solid as can get out, because they just have a really solid defense. And with a Red Bulls team that's hot, I think that the Union have a keeper that can keep them off the sheet. I'm looking more towards, like, can Union grab 2 or 3 goals? Like, they need one of those, like, breakout attacking performances, because I'm not sure they've quite gotten that yet. And it's still, I guess, the jury out on, can Shabelko pump in a lot of goals with Sergio Santo? Like, can they get enough going in the attack to really make it threatening? I still think the Union should have gone out with that money that they have and gotten maybe a more proven striker, a better goal scorer, to be honest with you. But because that diamond's really threatening. But yeah, this game, excited to see what they do. The pieces that Red Bulls have, the way that their defense has been, a team that I think is pushing towards the top of the East and could make a run at the NYCFC and Montreal sitting up there at top. So really looking forward to this match.
All right, and your second game?
Second game, we will move over to Sunday at 6 p.m. That's going to be Columbus Crew and the Revs. It's at New England Gillette Stadium. Bill Belichick probably won't have Brady start, but
they're tough to beat there. They are.
But this game here I've highlighted because, and not so much, I guess, no, let's go with both. I want to highlight both of them because I think the Revs, you and I text this all the time, I'm still not convinced yet. Like, people are like, oh, they're the best team in the East. I was listening to Extra Time today, and they were talking about it too. Like, this is a really good team. I haven't seen that. I must be watching the different Revs team. Because even against Union, it wasn't until late that they started to put things together.
Yeah.
So that's a big question mark. And then you've got the Crew, who are kind of limping into this game again. That seems to be their story of 2021, when this team was supposed to have the depth to handle this kind of thing. A team that was supposed to run away with the East doesn't look like it's going to run away. It looks like it's going to limp back into the pack with the rest of those top 2 or 3 teams. So I'm really interested to see what they can do. Can Zelarayan get this team going in a way that, I think he's been rather quiet since the beginning of the year. So, it's been an interesting start for the Crew. It's been an interesting start for the Revs. I think this is a matchup that we all thought, looking at the schedule, this was going to be like a heck of a matchup here in match week 5, that we were looking forward to, had circled on our calendars. Now it's kind of like, can these teams kind of come up out of their little funk that they're in with goal scoring?
You say that, but you did circle this one on the calendar.
I did. But not for the right reasons. Not for the right reasons, okay?
Yeah. No, I totally understand what you mean about New England because, I mean, look, they beat DC by 1 goal. That was an own goal. They lost to Nashville, which jury's out on them still, I guess. They draw with the Union. I think New England fans will say that they feel like they should have won that game because of that Shabelko call. So who knows? And I think earlier in the season they
drew with
the Fire.
Yeah.
None of it's been good.
Yeah.
None of it has really been good. I mean, yes, they're up. They're up in second place with only 1 loss, 2 wins, 2 draws, but they've scored 6 goals. They've given up 6 goals. So not much there to really. I don't see this dark horse prediction that we've been giving. Now, you've put them in the power rankings. If you want to watch that video on YouTube, They have them 5th, but if we look at the week before, they're 2nd. But I think they are falling. And I think if you made this list now, I don't know if you would actually put them in the top.
No,
depending on what happens this weekend, I guess.
Yeah. And again, we keep talking about it. It's Adam Buksa. He's not going to grab you 20 goals, 15 goals. And that's what a team in a 2-spot needs. They need a goal-scoring striker. Well, they don't have one. And Carles Gil is the only one that could even come close to that. And he doesn't really look to score. He's much more creative, just trying to get guys into open spaces. And then you got Gustavo Bo, who, back and forth. He's hot and cold. Kind of reminds me of Ezekiel Barco for Atlanta. You don't know what you're going to get with him day in and day out. So that's been a concern. And, their defense is not like going to lock you down. Like it's all right. But
here's what I'll say. Because I think this was proven last year. They're not built for the regular season.
Yeah.
I think if they make the playoffs and they get hot around that time like they did last year, and they knock off Union and Orlando or like Yeah, they beat Orlando, right?
Yeah, they beat Orlando.
That could be a little worrisome. I think what you're seeing now is that Gustavo Bo and Buxa are being a little inconsistent, and they're relying on Heel. Last year, when he came back and they made that playoff run, Buxa and Bo were actually scoring goals.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that if they get on fire and they are all firing on all cylinders, this is a team that's going to be dangerous. But I think where that like hot streak is more prevalent is playoffs, right? Like I think regular season, you can go on a run and get some points, but like I'm still not sure I'd want to see this team in the playoffs, right? But I think we can maybe put to bed them being the best team in the league, or like I don't think the Supporter Shield winner is coming from the East this year. We kind of proved that with our Western predictions that we put out here. Just substitute that team for Seattle, and you probably got what I would change it to right now. Let me go over mine real quick here. My first one is LA Galaxy in Austin. That is on Saturday at 3:30 on Univision and Twitter. That is one I wanted to highlight because Austin's been surprisingly good, but they are going to be missing Ring in this game due to the red card. And this is another away game for them. But it's another game where you could be like, oh, they're actually playing well. But I think missing Ring might lessen that chance. But Galaxy, can they kind of continue their streak with goal scoring Chicharito, and they are the second in the West, I believe, third in the West, 9 points, 4 games. If they get a win here, they'll be one back of Seattle with the same amount of games played, and they'll jump over San Jose. When we look at their points per game right now, they're at 2.25, which is the second highest in the league right now. The first highest is Seattle, 2.6. San Jose right now is at 1.8. Real Salt Lake's at 2.0 because they've only played 3 games. So that is, I think LA Galaxy have a good shot of making this a statement game. I think Austin has a good shot at making this another statement game, but I think with Ring missing, it's going to be less of one. And man, could you imagine if they lose to another LA team? They'll probably start hating both of them in the city itself. The second game I want to cover is the other LA team, LAFC versus Seattle. Feels like we just went through this 2 weeks ago. It's because we did. But this time it's at Lumen Field up in Seattle, 9:30 against LAFC. And you have to think that Seattle, if Vela's not ready to go, is going to win this game, depending on Stephen Fry and their goalkeeper situation. But they're going to be at home. This is a great chance for them to make another statement because they usually have LAFC's number. So if they do that again and they keep claiming these 3 points, they're going to be favorites for the Supporter Shield, no doubt. And it's going to make all of us look silly as I put them 5th, you put them 4th. We really thought that they were going to be on this downward trajectory. And now they might even, like, could you imagine if they make another MLS Cup after they made 4 out of 5 and won 2 of them or whatever? If they made another one and won it, or, even if they didn't win it.
Yeah.
At that point, you're just like, you're looking at Smetzer and you're saying he's got to be coach of the year if they win Supporter Shield.
Mm-hmm.
If they win the Supporter Shield, he's coach of the year because he did this formation change. He made it adapt when everybody was counting them out, and he would have. And if he wins Supporter Shield, there's nobody else to give it to. Who else are you going to give it to?
Yeah, right now they're like heads above. They're like the Columbus Crew that we thought the Columbus Crew
Yes,
was
exactly. They're exactly who we thought the Crew were.
Yeah. So it's just this team that keeps running away with it. And man, do they look, they just keep putting pressure on all these teams and just absolutely smashing teams in.
I know there's people that hate Seattle, but man,
I like watching them. Yeah.
I admire them so much because they came into this league and won like 4 straight U.S. Open Cups. Now they're in this run of MLS Cup finals and they won 2 of them. And it is astounding that if they got there again and got 3, that'd be like the fastest I think any team has gotten 3, except for maybe DC United, just because they won the first 2 and then had one in 04. But the most that any club has is 5 with LA Galaxy. If you keep Smetzer here and you keep this and you let them keep building the Seattle team, they are favorites, I think, to become the winningest team in MLS history. They just got, I mean, and they could already have, right? They, like I said, they lost 2, right? So you'd have 4, and if they won it this year, they'd have 5. Yeah, they could have, the way that if you keep getting the finals, you're going to win them, right? That's the thing. And I just admire this team because they go from winning MLS Cup in 2016 with no shots on goal to now becoming this trajectory of like, oh, we're actually really good. Man, and this is all without Ladero, as we keep mentioning. It's astounding. And man, I just wish my club was run like that, in all honesty. And I'm not trying to complain about how the Union are run, I guess, but it is something that you look at and you just say, like, I wish all my sports teams were run like like the Sounders at this point. And I think if you looked at the salary stuff,
they're not that high.
They're not that high.
Yep.
Rui Diaz and Ladero both in the $2 million a year range or whatever, which is astounding because they're so good. Now, I know I've used that word a lot, astounding, but
astounding. I mean, astounding.
Yeah, when you look at how much other people and other clubs are paying, Cincinnati's paying a whole bunch. They're not getting much for it, but they're paying a whole bunch, and it's kind of like Seattle's paying less and getting all these players that fit their system and making it work. It's amazing.
And he broke his system to then become better, which it's like, what? And what was really impressive about the San Jose win is he came out of that formation and put them back into a normal formation that he is usually used. So I do, like you said, Jordan, and I tweeted this and people like, oh, I don't know. I don't agree with that. That's too early to call Schmetzer the coach of the year. I'm like, if they
win. You said early, though.
Right.
Like, I mean.
Right. It wasn't like, oh, let's give him the now because it's only 5 games in. But I did say early. But if you win the next 3 games heading into June, into that break, and then you come off of it and you have a nice little run because none of their guys are really going to be guys that are pinpointed for those international tournaments. So, they'll come back and they might perform well. Nico will be fully fit, and gosh, this team could absolutely just run away if and especially with Portland looking like they might hang out in the bottom part of that.
Yeah, who challenges them?
The
Galaxy, San Jose,
maybe.
And LAFC if they get up there, right? Like, I don't know who else. I'm looking at it. I don't think Houston has enough to challenge them from the West. Vancouver certainly doesn't. Rapids don't. Right. Maybe Kansas City if they got on a streak.
Yeah.
But other than that,
it's the Galaxy, I think.
It's probably Galaxy because I don't think San Jose keeps up for the whole year. So if you're looking at a West winner, you're thinking Galaxy or Sounders, and Sounders destroyed Galaxy when they played. So that is.
They've got a free-headed monster up front too. Like Freddie Montero, I laugh whenever they're like, oh, Freddie's been with Vancouver and he's just not been. Vancouver was horrible. You can't tell me that Freddie was going to strive with Vancouver, can score like 12 goals.
And we see Vancouver having those same sort of issues this year with chance creation.
Right. So, and Brad Smith. I mean, it's all Brad Smith. It is. Convinced.
All right. Let's go over this roster real quick. So this was released, and we have more time today to go over it. But this is for the preliminary Nations League roster. Why is it? Is this just like 2 different? Is this the same?
So like
it's 2 pages.
I was looking at it and I was like, why is it all funky? Yeah, it's 2 pages.
Okay.
Like, I don't know why the bottom one looks so different, and I think it's because the teams on the bottom. If you look at the team names on the bottom, like USA, Germany, they're all blank. Like, their space weird.
Yeah, it's weird. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. It's alphabetical. So, midfielder, Brendan Aronson. Tyler Adams at Leipzig. Paul Areola which a lot of people were shocked by. Tyler Boyd over in Besiktas. John Anthony Brooks, Reggie Cannon. So there's our 2 defenders. We had 2 forwards listed there. As Ariel is listed as a forward. So is Tyler Boyd. Conrad de la Fuente listed as a forward from Barcelona. Lucas, so his name is Lucas, but he goes by Luca. Luca de la Torre from Heracles in the Netherlands. Midfield. Defender, Sergino Dest from Barcelona. Daryl DK from, they have it Barnsley listed here. Of course, it's Orlando on loan at Barnsley. Nicolas Giacchini from Caen in France. Ethan Horvath from Club Bruges, goalkeeper. Sean Johnson from NYCFC. Sebastian Lletget from Galaxy. Aaron Long from Red Bulls. Weston McKennie from Juventus. Mark McKenzie from Genk. Matt Miazga from Anderlecht, also Chelsea. Yunus Musa from Valencia. David Ochoa from Real Salt Lake. Odosui over in Wolverhampton. Kellen Acosta from the Rapids. Christian Pulisic from Chelsea. Tim Ream from Fulham. Giovanni Reina from Dortmund. Brian Reynolds from Roma. Chris Richards from Hoffenheim on loan from Bayern Munich. Anthony Robinson from Fulham. Miles Robinson from Atlanta. Christian Roldan from Seattle. Josh Sargent from Werder Bremen. Jordan Ciabachu from Young Boys in Switzerland. Zach Steffen from Manchester City. Matt Turner from New England Revolution. Sam Bynes from the Rapids. Timothy Weah from Lille. DeAndre Yedlin from Galatasaray. Jackson Yule from San Jose. Giassi Zardes from Columbus Crew. And Walker Zimmerman from Nashville. I was like, there's not really many surprises. I saw a lot of people on Twitter up in arms that Julian Green wasn't included, and I just don't care. Don't.
We should put Michael Bradley and Josie.
He's in the second division in Germany, and yes, he's had a decent season, but nothing that
flash from the past
stands out. Maybe Gold Cup roster, sure, but I don't know.
People were livid with Marcinkowski being left off too, and I think that every goalkeeper on there is well, I don't know. They're going to be mad because he's not going to get. I mean, people are going to get mad at that World Cup qualifying roster too because he won't be on it.
Here's the thing: people are going to be mad no matter what.
Yeah, it's true.
When we get our final 23 for the World Cup, if we qualify, people are going to be upset.
Mm-hmm.
Because some player from the third division of Sweden's not going to be on there that they rate very highly. And they'll be upset that somebody like Sebastian Lletget's on there.
I was going to say some MLS
guy. Yeah. I saw people upset that Christian Roldan has been up there. And I know he hasn't done much on the international level for the USA, but he's had a great season. There's no way you can leave him off. I don't think he goes to the Nations League, but I think he's on the Gold Cup.
Yeah, when I was going through this list and I'm like, okay, pretty much everybody that I thought. I was shocked because I didn't know Areola was going to be back this early. And yesterday I texted you like, wait a minute, he's back.
Yeah.
I didn't even check the 18 that were listed, but the next one that was up was Christian Roldan. Like you said, Jordan, he's had a great season here. He's played well. Plus, you just got to really like him the way that he hustles. He gives it your all. It kind of reminds me of Sebastian Lletget. Like I think people want to just dig at him because he's MLS. He's not necessarily a star-studded player that you think of, but how great would he be if you add him to midfield depth when you know you're going to get a solid performance out of him every single time he touches the pitch?
Here's what people got to understand. We're not going to have our first 11 on Nations League, Gold Cup, and qualifying. You're going to have to spread some of these players out because of all these tournaments. And that's why we have these deep players. And I saw people saying Julian Green above Christian Roldan. Well, let's just say I don't know if Julian Green, would even want to come over for Gold Cup. I mean, like sometimes these players, they look back and say, maybe they could decline call-ups. We don't know if he did or not, but I'm just saying it's not always a Berhalter thing. It could be. He likes Roldan, it seems. But I look at that list and I think we got a pretty solid list. And Nations League, you're probably going to see all the internationals. The reason why I think Horvath is listed instead of like Marcinkowski, because I think Horvath is going to be called up for the Nations League. He's going to be third string, probably. You're probably going to have, or maybe second string. You're going to have Stefan start. He didn't get to start this game against City. City played today.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're going to have Stefan start, I think, at goal. And Horvath probably...
And behind him.
Second or third. I think Sean Johnson, Marcinkowski, Matt Turner, I think those are probably good Gold Cup candidates. I know Marcinkowski is not listed on here, but this is not the roster just for the Gold Cup, or this is just a preliminary roster for the Nations League, and then they narrow it down. Gold Cup, I'm assuming you can still add some different players since that's not until like July.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I mean, I look at this and I think, we're probably good to go. Like, I think this is a good squad. You're going to see a lot of the Euro players for Nations League. I think you'll still see Leggett called up for it just because he usually gets called into those things. Just because he can play multiple positions. He can be, added at any time. I don't expect Ochoa to get called up to this. And I don't know if they would let him anyway, just because of he's starting for RSL right now. Like, I don't think he's.
Yeah, probably there's probably a hefty fine for kicking balls into like Nation League Cup stands.
Yeah. Well, he was just trying to give it to a kid.
Did you see his press conference? I loved his press conference. It was so cheeky of him.
Especially when he says, I called their manager, Adrian Heath, I think his name is.
And he kind of gives that like...
He gives a little chuckle. This
is going to be good. They already have the TV of everything set up. Like 7:30, June 3rd, Honduras, United States on Paramount Plus. June 3rd, Mexico versus Costa Rica at 10 p.m. Empower Field at Mile High. Both of them Empower Field at Mile High. Paramount Plus. Third place match is June 6th at 6:30 on Paramount Plus, and then June 6th is the final, and that's at 9 p.m. on Paramount Plus, which is good. I have summer, so I'll be able to see that.
And we have Paramount Plus. And also, I mean, you have summer, but I mean, this is late at night, so I think you're good.
I know, that's why I'm excited.
Oh, you mean the 9 o'clock?
Yeah, because then I'm not watching like this.
Falling asleep at 9 o'clock.
Sunday is a really good one. It's the Sounders LAFC game, and it's at like
9:30.
Yeah. So that's rough on me.
Getting old.
Yeah.
Anything else that stuck out to you at all this week? Midweek games here before we go.
No, I think that we just mentioned we will have a special guest. Brian Weigel is joining us back on Tuesday to help us go over the TQL. I hate that name. What's West End Stadium? Yep. West End Stadium is opening up in Cincinnati this weekend against the Inter Miami. What do they call them? I guess Pelicans. I don't know. Flamingos. Yeah, Flamingos are not Pelicans. But yeah, we're gonna have Brian Weigel on from Cincy Soccer Talk. His whole crew got season tickets, I think,
against the Beckhams. Yeah,
right. So they've got tickets to the game, and we're gonna talk about talk to Brian about it.
We're gonna talk about him.
We're gonna talk about him and talk to him about FC Cincinnati. Hopefully, we're covering them in a good light, and we can enjoy the discussion about the stadium. Like Jordan's sporting his FC Cincy stuff, and I'll support mine on Tuesday. But yeah, I'm hoping we have
work Tuesday. Yeah. Oh well.
Oh, I'll just do it again.
I just got this new kit, so I was excited about it.
It kind of, not gonna lie to you, with the way it's cut off, it kind of looks like you're wearing a Barcelona jersey.
Doesn't even look like the right colors.
I'm Okay, I don't see colors very well. But anyway, yeah, we have Brian Weigel on to talk a stadium that's, he said, not quite complete, but is close to getting completed here in the next coming month or so. But looking forward to have Brian on again.
Yeah, that's going to be late that we talk to him. So that episode's going to go up very late Tuesday. So you might want to watch it on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Because we're talking to him at like 8 p.m. Eastern, I think.
Yeah, Eastern time.
So by the time I edit that and all that, it's going to be like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So don't be like refreshing your feeds for all the hardcore fans at like 6 a.m. on Tuesday looking for that. But yeah, so that's about all that I have. I do want to just quick ad here, I guess, for our own content. I will be talking Star Wars The Bad Batch, Episode 3, The Replacements, on the Pod Awakens, which is our Star Wars podcast, part of the 14301 Productions Podcasting Network. So you can follow us on Twitter at Pod Awakens if you want to find that there. So far, so good. Really great animation. This episode was dark. This episode was really dark. Well, half of the storyline was anyway, but it was a little shocking. So if you want to hear my thoughts on that, listen to the Pod Awakens. I'll probably also be talking some Marvel stuff over on To the Infinity Saga and Beyond, our Marvel podcast. And tomorrow, Saturday mornings, I've been uploading our reviews and look-aheads at the USL, NISA, NPSL, all those smaller leagues over on the closed pyramid, which is a YouTube series. So if you're watching us on YouTube, you can go to the YouTube and there's the playlist called The Closed Pyramid, and you'll see episode 2 up there sometime Saturday morning, along with the Power Rankings show over there. Or if you go to the link tree, now we have updated the link tree where all the links to our socials have little logos at the bottom that you click and it takes you to the link. And the 2 links that we have sitting there at the top now are the YouTube playlist links for the Closed Pyramid and the Power Rankings. So that way it takes you right to that playlist and you can watch it. So if you're interested in those, definitely check those out. You can follow us on Twitter at Stateside Show, Instagram at Stateside Show, Facebook.com/Stateside Show, or email us statesideshow@gmail.com. If you want to hear us talk Premier League, you can go to Stoppage Show on Twitter, where we are wrapping up our Premier League coverage over there. But yeah, that about does it for us here. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll catch you on Tuesday, late Tuesday, early Wednesday for our recap of the weekend.